Welcome back to Ethical Adulthood, the atlas of our lives. If you've listened to the first two seasons of Ethical Adulthood, you know we've spent a lot of time talking about the capacities we need to navigate modern life with integrity, tolerating discomfort, repairing relationships, living with loss, understanding power, and questioning our own certainty. And you know that a central idea in this framework is what happens after certainty falls away. Many people have admitted to me that they do not understand that sentence at all. They usually have a few recognizable perspectives. Number one, I've never been certain about anything since I was 5 and learned there was no Santa Claus. So there's that. 2, I know nothing is certain, but a lot of things are probable, have a high likelihood of being true, or are good beliefs to have. What sort of a person allows those things to fall away? This really seems strange to me. And 3, I am certain about several things: love, peace, dignity, integrity, service. I'm not certain I want to hear from somebody who thinks my certainty is false, or who does not think those things are certainly certain. And all of that is fair. What I mean by certainty, I submit, is more complex than that. These are the kinds of certainty statements to which I was referring. Certainty 101. This map I have, given to me by my religion and my family, is a perfectly good representation of my terrain. My life mirrors the very things shown on this map. That's that. As for those things and people whose needs and lives aren't on this map, well, they are just not included in my certainty. So they are not my responsibility. They are somebody else's responsibility, or God's responsibility. And I am no longer interested in thinking about any of this. Certainty 201. This map I have, given to me by my family and my culture, says I must go to school, start a career, make some or a lot of money, get married to the right person, have at least 2 kids, live in the most expensive neighborhood I can afford, because unless I can afford private schools, geography matters, and I have to raise those children in my religion and to obey the same cultural maps I grew up with. I don't have any problem with any of this. I'm certain this will work out just fine, as it has for centuries. My certainty is good. Certainty 301. If I do everything right and be a good person, my life and my world will make sense and be fair. I will not have some terrible tragedy befall me, such as a serious illness or severe economic, mental, emotional, or physical limitations, the death of a person upon whom I rely, or some war or natural disaster, for instance, will not wipe me out. And if I do run into terrain that is fraught with danger, sorrow, and pain, well then I'll have my map, and somewhere in there I will find comfort. I will emulate God And I will stay ethical by doing that. These 3 levels of certainty are common, not rare at all. They are the status quo. I'm just not in the status quo myself. And maybe you aren't either. Our religions, our cultures, our books, our grand unified theories, they all work great. As long as our lives match the terrain they display. Sometimes people choose to live their whole lives inside one map, and they die, and that's just how it is. Many people have lives that veer off the map they were given before they reach high school. Myself, I was given a map, albeit a loosely constructed one. I'll call it science, stoicism, curiosity, and humor. It worked great for 45 years. Then my best friend died suddenly. This was so unfair, so against science, so blatantly uncaring, so not humorous, and so profoundly sad for me that I looked at my map and I said, "Phoo on you. You're a crappy map. You never mentioned any of this was going to happen. Not fair. I wanted a better map." Because I couldn't contemplate the story of my friend dying without dropping into despair for more than 2 years. I understand grief. And so I went looking for certainty, something my map didn't ever really give me. I wanted a comforting map. Certainty is comforting. I explored hundreds of maps. Philosophy, religion, psychology. Anything I could get my hands on that looked like it might be something I could use to navigate and be okay with the way life was, I looked at. And in the end, none of them matched the terrain of my actual life for very long. And none of them gave me any reason not to harden against life, because life was not cooperating anymore. So that took 7 years, reading maps. Then I realized that almost all my certainty about anything really was gone. And it wasn't coming back. Honestly, remember COVID-19? I didn't throw out the maps, though. I just took from them what was useful for staying in contact with reality in the present moment, and used discernment and set them down when I saw how they distorted the truth. So I went off into my daily, ordinary life without a map. And along the way, I was both ethical and unethical. And I experienced the consequences of both of those types of behaviors vividly. And out of that journey came the essay, Psychological Capacities for Ethical Adulthood, a Framework for Living After Certainty Collapses. Because by then I had begun to understand where I was strong and where I was weak, where I still caused unnecessary suffering, not only to myself, but to those close to me, and what it was that actually helped me remain in contact with reality. I need to understand why I am being good. I need to know when I'm being good because it's just too high a cost for me to be bad, as opposed to being good because it is mine to do. So I wrote more than 40 essays on this because, well, that's what I did with all that energy. I put it on paper, and then I turned that material into this podcast. So here I am in Season 3, Episode 5. And now I want to explore some maps. For thousands of years, human beings have created maps to explain personality, morality, suffering, destiny, spiritual growth, and the nature of reality itself. Some of these maps have endured for centuries. Others have shaped entire civilizations. And because every map is drawn by the hands of a human who cannot process everything all at once, every map leaves something out. Well, which is why we abandon certainty in the first place, right? Somewhere along the way, we discover that the manual we've been handed just does not fully explain our lives. Well, sometimes it's just incomplete, but sometimes it simply gets it wrong. But rather than asking whether these maps are true or false, I'll use the same framework to explore each one. We'll ask 5 questions. Number 1, what was the human problem that this map was trying to solve or answer? 2, what does the map look like? What did it propose? 3, what's the gift the map gives us? Why did it survive? What truth did it preserve? Number 4, the distortion. What happens when this map is mistaken for reality? And 5, how do we carry this map wisely today? And one last thing, I intend to explore old maps, or at least maps that are no longer being shaped. I'll be scrupulously avoiding more recent maps. A couple come to mind: internal family systems, the Enneagram, any current and evolving models of ethics and morality, and for the most part, any maps created by people who are still alive. I'm not here to tear down the structures that are currently being built. It's not my intent. I'm here to help us learn how to read maps. This will not be a history podcast or a religious podcast, and it is not going to be an attempt to convince anyone to abandon the maps that have shaped their lives. You know I love maps. I love the Enneagram. I love internal family systems. I enjoy astrology and tarot. And I admit, I love the Jesus story. This podcast will be an invitation to look at these maps with fresh eyes. I'm not trying to stop loving maps. I'm trying to learn how to love them wisely. Because every map reveals something real, and every map leaves something real out. And ethical adulthood may depend less on finding the perfect map than on learning to carry every map with humility. This is the preface to Season 3, Ethical Adulthood, the Atlas of Our Lives. I'm Andrea Fiondo, and I want to thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.